Hey everybody. Yeah, I'm going to try this one more time. I've been having some interruptions and mishaps all over the place. I just had some water spill on me because of the fact I was trying to open my bottle of water, and it just decided to spill on me. Fortunately nothing got damaged. Hopefully that's not too big of a deal. But I wanted to come on here and do an audio-video overview of an episode I did a text review of at the MLP forums, Equestria Daily message boards, and the Facebook group pages. And since it's Halloween, or tomorrow being Halloween, I decided to talk about the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 5 episode, Scaremaster. Now, overall, I thought this episode was pretty good, especially for Halloween, and from MLP in general. Now, I understand some fans will not like the message, given in the end. I know Voice of Reason is not too particularly fond of it. He recently did a collab with Firebrand, and basically he commented by saying Scaremaster was one of those episodes where it takes the main character who's being focused on and resets them back to their first appearance, or the first season, basically the first appearance, or the first season, or the first season version of who they were. And I can understand where VOR is coming from, because, I've seen this happen in shows before. And sometimes it's not just, shows that have multiple seasons, sometimes it's syndicated shows as well. Like, okay, for example, on a Monday, I could be watching a show and a character, and a character in one episode may seem to learn a lesson about overcoming certain things and trying certain other projects, and maybe learning for the fact that, hey, they like doing this project, stuff like that. So and that's on a Monday episode, but then all of a sudden you get to Thursday or Friday, and it seems like all of a sudden, wait a minute, I thought they were over this. I thought they liked doing something like that. It's almost like they got reset back to who they were before. So I can understand where Voice of Reason is coming from, but overall, when I look at the message and morale of this episode, I look at it along the lines of, it's something we all deal with in real life. And that is basically, how will we know if we like something? How will we know whether or not we like something or we don't like something? Or basically, how will we know if we like something? How will we know if we don't like something? Sorry about that. If we don't give it a try. If we don't give it a try, give it the good old college try, if you will, or at least give it a go. And if we don't like it at the end of our attempt, then we don't have to do it again. And that's basically what I look at with this episode. I look at the fact that Fluttershy, in a sense, overcame her fear of Nightmare Night. Sort of overcame her fear of Nightmare Night. Because, she still has basically stated at the end of the episode that Nightmare Night is going to be one holiday that she's not going to spend with her friends because it's just not for her. And it's not because of the things that may frighten her and scare her and all that, but it's mainly because of what she did at the end. Basically, in the episode, she wanted to prove that she can be a part of Nightmare Night, that she can have some fun, that she can be scary. But she realized that the one thing maybe that she never liked about Nightmare Night in the first place was seeing other ponies be scared, or get scared and all that. And that's the one thing she just didn't like. And obviously that's the one main thing she never liked about Nightmare Night, is the fact that she didn't like seeing her friends scared half to death, like she nearly did to them when she tried to prove that she could just be as scary. She could just be as scary as anybody, and she could be just as in tune with Nightmare Night as her friends are, if not more so. In fact, she even said, when she realized what she'd done and how impressed her friends were, she basically told them she was not ready to give up. And it goes back to another episode that centered around her. I think that was Philly Vanilli, maybe. I'm not really sure. Where she basically, and she even mentioned it. She even did a callback to this when she said that when she surprised her friends by telling them she was going to join them for Nightmare Night, she basically did a callback by saying it's kind of like when she attempted singing. She didn't know she'd be good at it until she tried it, and then suddenly she found out, hey, I like it, I enjoy it. And you have Applejack kind of adding on to that yeah, because she tried, they got a chance to listen to a great singing voice coming from her. So it's basically in those same veins that she basically was saying that, hey, basically it was in those same kind of veins that she was telling her friends, hey, I wasn't ready to give up on Nightmare Night, just like she wasn't ready to give up on the singing. So, so even though she may have had been and even though she may be good at being part of Nightmare Night, the one thing that holds her back is her friends being scared. So, so basically, in the end, whether people agree with the message or they don't, the message is, hey, you don't know if you're going to like something until you try it. And if you don't like it after you've tried it, you don't have to do it again. If you feel there's one thing about it that you don't like about it, then you don't have to do it again. It's simple as that. And for Fluttershy, the one thing she didn't like about Nightmare Night is her friends being scared. And you can't blame her for that. You really can't. Because that's the same thing in real life. There are people that don't really particularly like Halloween or Day of the Dead because pretty much, they don't want to see the friends, the family members, or the kids get scared. And so I can definitely see the relatable message and moral being given out there with this episode. The other things I did like about the episode, though, I did like some of the references to some of the anime. Yeah, they actually referenced anime in My Little Pony. I'm not kidding. Of course, they referenced it with some of the background characters. I think one of them being, I don't know who it was, that Sweetie Blue, something like that, Rose Bloom or whatever. That pink horse is kind of one of the flower horses, dressing up like Sailor Moon in the background. And then, of course, the main six being at Fluttershy's, or five of the main six being at Fluttershy's, when Twilight suggests Fluttershy be the one to give them a scare. I like that the things hanging from the roof of Fluttershy's, hanging from the ceiling of Fluttershy's house, are all anime characters are all ponified versions of anime characters like Utena, Bulma, Sailor Moon, Rama, you name it. And these are like decorations, hoof-drawn decorations that Fluttershy put on her ceiling. So I like the little references to anime there. And whether people like it or not, and I know people may or may not agree with me liking this, but I did enjoy the little Rarity and Spike moments they gave us, especially towards the end. I like how before the whole Fluttershy portion of the corn maze took effect, I like how you saw Spike and Rarity going into this tunnel full of fake eyeballs and just running out laughing together along with the others behind them. I like that. I liked how, it seemed that Rarity was always like near Spike at certain moments, like when they were running from what they thought were ghosts, but were actually the insect friends of Fluttershy. I like how, they had Spike go back for Rarity after she tripped over her costume. I like that. I like how when they heard this noise coming from the other side of the cave, or the other side of the tunnel, or whatever it was. I liked how Spike went up to, it was kind of like walking, kind of walking backwards towards Rarity, and it's like Rarity's lifting up her hoof, and for a second, it almost looked like Rarity was going to put her hoof, she was lifting it up, and Spike was like walking towards her, or walking back to her, like she was going to put her hoof in his hand. I did like that. I did like that. That moment, like I said, when they heard basically this monster, which was the bear friend, of Fluttershy's in disguise, walking towards them. Like I said, I like how Spike kind of walked a little backwards towards Rarity, and it looked like Rarity, when she lifted her hoof up, was going to put her hoof in Spike's hand. So I like that little tidbit. And I did like at the end how when basically you have 5 of the main 6 scared, completely senseless, or scared out of their wits, and you have Rarity and Spike holding on to each other. I like that part, and I also did like how when Rarity acknowledged what Fluttershy had done and said, "Hey, you've already accomplished being part of Nightmare Night. You've already done something that we didn't think you would do. And you've made it fun for all of us." I like how when she mentions that, she's looking at Spike and then looking back at Rarity. So I did like those little Spike and Rarity. I mean, not Rarity, but I like how when Rarity says that to Fluttershy, she's looking at Spike and then looking back at Fluttershy. That being Rarity, of course. So I did enjoy those little Spike and Rarity moments. I also enjoyed how they would also have Spike, of course, beside Twilight. Because, of course, they're like brother and sister, in my opinion. They're like brother and sister. And I like how there were moments when they were getting ready to go to the corn maze, when Spike had brought Fluttershy to them and had her, basically say she was going to join them. I like there was moments there where you had Spike next to Twilight. Especially when Fluttershy thought she heard something, but it was nothing. I like how you had Spike, like I said, right there next to Fluttershy. I mean, next to Twilight. I liked how when they fell down the hole, you had Spike next to Twilight when she lit her horn up, asking Applejack what they do now, and how he was still next to her when they turned in the direction of what they thought was Granny Smith. Of where they thought Granny Smith was, but it wasn't. And I like also how, basically, like when they got caught up in the web, how Spike's dragging Pinkie Pie, because one of the comedic moments of the episode is Pinkie Pie has this costume, very, very 80s related, or very 80-esque, if you will, gem kind of reference, as some people put it. And I like how every time she tries to run or she gets pushed by someone, she ends up crashing into something. And anyway, what I'm saying is, I like how when Spike, even after Spike grabs Pinkie Pie and runs with her to get away from the monster that was Fluttershy's bear friend in disguise, to, like I say, get away from the monster, I like how when they hit that sticky web, all of a sudden you have Spike right in the middle at the top between Rainbow Dash, but more importantly right next to between Rainbow Dash and Twilight, but more closely to Twilight. So I did like that. And I also liked at the end when Fluttershy revealed herself to everybody about what she would, revealed herself to her friends about, after basically scaring them witless and asking for them to forgive her, which of course they did. I like how you had Spike right next to Twilight, and both were smiling at the same time, like, oh my gosh, we couldn't believe this. So, again, I like certain moments like that in this episode. And as I also mentioned, I like some of the comedic moments. Comedic moments being like with Pinkie Pie, like I said. Rarity had basically created costumes for them, and they all enjoyed the costumes they got. the one that Pinkie Pie got was basically she was on roller skates. She had roller skates on all four of her hooves. So anytime she would roll around, she would basically glide. She would basically glide on the roller skates. Except when someone would push her or she would run, and she would end up crashing into something off screen. So that was a good comedic moment there with Pinkie. The other comedic moment has to come from Rarity. Rarity basically gives herself a mermaid-like costume. And every time she ends up wearing the costume, the fin part, the tail part of it, the fin part, the tail fin part of it, or the fin tail, whatever you call it, ends up whacking one of her friends in the face. Like when she was trying to help Fluttershy find the costume, it kept constantly whacking Fluttershy in the face like numerous times. And of course, Fluttershy had some comedic moments, like when she was finally out and about on Nightmare Night, just to get some extra carrots for her pet rabbit, Angel, if you will, she ends up hiding underneath a hay bale that Granny Smith and Big Mac are working on. Basically, Big Mac putting the hay into it. And I like when they spot Fluttershy. Granny Smith points out that it's Nightmare Night, that Fluttershy should know it's Nightmare Night, and basically Granny Smith's wondering, what are you doing out here, Fluttershy? It's Nightmare Night, don't you know that? And Fluttershy has this reaction like, how can I forget it? Or as Voice of Reason put it, Fluttershy basically in her most polite way said, yeah, no shit. Excuse my language, God, but basically that's what she said, according to Voice of Reason, that basically when she said, oh, how can I forget, when Granny Smith points out it's Nightmare Night, it's basically Fluttershy's gentle, polite way of saying, no shit. So, overall though, I thought the episode was good, especially for Halloween. It's definitely an episode you could put on for Halloween, for the family, with your entire family or bronies and Pegasisters, fans of MLP FIM or not. It's still a decent episode to put on and enjoy. It's funny. It's got a good morale, good message in it, as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's really good, and again, I think you all should check it out. So that's all really I'm going to say on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. What were your thoughts on Scaremaster? I will try to provide my written version in the description box if I can. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say on my audio video overview of MLP Season 5 episode Scaremaster. And I hope you guys all have a good Halloween and stay safe. Comment down below.